On December 26, 2004, a train packed with families, travelers, and holidaygoers left Colombo, Sri Lanka, on what seemed like an ordinary journey. But as the Matara Express raced along the picturesque coastline, an invisible force, building thousands of miles away, was already in motion, one that would turn this peaceful day into an unprecedented tragedy. This is the story of how nature unleashed its fury in the form of a massive tsunami, and how a single train came to symbolize the resilience and strength of an entire nation. Stay with us as we uncover the events leading to the deadliest train disaster in history and explore how Sri Lanka rose from the depths of this catastrophic day. Sri Lanka Tsunami Train Disaster. Viewers' discretion is advised. Sunday, December 26, 2004, 6:40 AM. Fort Station in Colombo, the capital of Sri Lanka, is overcrowded. It's Poya Day, a significant Buddhist holiday celebrating the full moon, and Boxing Day, which has brought families to the station for holiday travel. Among the bustling crowd, passengers board Train 50 Matara Express, heading to Gala on the south of the island, a paradise known for its stunning beaches and beautiful resorts. The train follows a route that hugs Sri Lanka's southwestern coast. Around 15 minutes later, the Matara Express departs the station. It's carrying over 1,700 passengers in its 8 carriages, pulled by locomotive number 591, a Sri Lanka Railways Class M2A engine built in 1956. 6:58 AM, a massive undersea earthquake with a magnitude of 9.2 strikes off the west coast of northern Sumatra, Indonesia. The quake, caused by a rupture between the Burma and Indian plates, releases energy equivalent to 23,000 Hiroshima-type atomic bombs. The epicenter is far from Sri Lanka, so authorities do not anticipate any immediate danger. However, some people, mainly from the coastal towns, felt the earthquake and chaos erupted for moments as people don't know what to do. Some people go back to their houses to see if their families are safe. Others continue their journey as normal since they think the danger is gone or simply didn't feel the earthquake. At that time, people don't know what a tsunami is, and earthquakes response protocols also weren't widespread into the population. As a result, everyone did what they thought was the best for them. For the Matara Express, the journey continued uninterrupted, as officials did not foresee the arrival of any danger, and railroads and stations didn't get any damages. Sri Lanka's Department of Meteorology detects the earthquake, but no tsunami alert is issued. When reports of a tsunami finally reach the dispatch office in Maradana, efforts to stop 8 trains on the coastal line succeed. However, all attempts to contact the Matara Express fail. In Ambalangoda, attempts to halt the train are thwarted. Station staff are preoccupied with assisting passengers, and no one answers the phone in time. Further south, communication is impossible, as the stations have been evacuated or destroyed by the waves. The earthquake triggers a colossal tsunami, sending waves hurtling across the Indian Ocean at speeds of 500 miles per hour or 800 kilometers per hour, equivalent to the speed of a jet plane. Nearly 2 hours later, the tsunami reaches Sri Lanka's western coast. Between 9 AM and 9:30 AM, Train 50 comes to a stop near Paralia village, just 200 meters, 600 feet from the shoreline. It waits for clearance from the station, unaware of the impending disaster. Meanwhile, the first giant waves, a result of the Sumatra earthquake, strike the eastern coast of Sri Lanka. When the first waves arrive, panic grips the passengers' families clutch each other tightly, their eyes darting toward the horizon as the sea, once calm, begins to behave in strange and unsettling ways. Some passengers rush back into the carriages, convinced that the solid iron train can serve as a barrier against the unstoppable force they can barely comprehend. Mothers gather their children close, while fathers stand at the windows, peering anxiously into the distance. Terrifying moment, there is silence, an unsettling calm before nature's fury is unleashed. Then, in the distance, a sound like thunder erupts as a monstrous wall of water surges forward. Towering 9 meters, 30 feet high, the wave races towards them with unstoppable power. The passengers have no time to react before it hits. The wave crashes into the train with a force that defies imagination. The sound of metal screeching and crumpling under the sheer weight of the water. Those on top of the train are thrown away, flung helplessly into the air. Bodies collide with debris, while others are swallowed by the swirling waters. The locomotive is effortlessly lifted from the tracks and carried 100 meters, 330 feet inland, crashing down into a swamp. The rest of the train is ripped from its tracks, the carriages torn apart as they are swept inland. Inside, passengers fight for their lives, desperately clawing at doors and windows that refuse to budge, barricaded by the wreckage piling up outside. Water rushes in, turning the carriages into death traps. In their desperation, people smash the windows with bare hands, trying to escape the rising waters. Shattered glass mingles with the flood as they force themselves through, only to be met by a hellish landscape of destruction outside. The Sri Lankan authorities have no idea where the train has been swept, and it's not until 4 p.m., nearly 7 hours after the disaster, that an army helicopter spots the mangled remains of the train. Emergency response efforts are crippled by the widespread devastation. Rescue teams struggle to reach the survivors, many of whom are left to fend for themselves, trapped amidst the wreckage. As time drags on, some succumb to their injuries. Days pass, and only after a week are all the bodies recovered from the site. At Karapitiya Hospital, forensic teams work tirelessly, photographing and fingerprinting unclaimed bodies for future identification before they are buried, knowing many of these souls may never be properly laid to rest. Official reports state that only about 150 people from the train survived. The death toll is estimated to be at least 1,700, possibly more than 2,000, though only about 900 bodies are ever recovered. Many victims were swept out to sea and others were claimed by relatives. The village of Peralia, where the train had stopped, is decimated, losing hundreds of residents and all but 10 buildings to the waves. The 2004 tsunami, known as one of the deadliest natural disasters in history, devastated 14 countries surrounding the Indian Ocean. Sri Lanka was one of the hardest hit nations, with over 30,000 people losing their lives and more than 500,000 displaced. The tsunami's waves, some reaching heights of up to 30 meters, 100 feet, caused widespread destruction along the country's eastern and southern coasts. Entire communities were swept away, leaving behind nothing but debris. In the worst affected areas, nearly 70% of the fishing fleet was destroyed, severely impacting livelihoods. Coastal towns like Gal, Batticaloa, and Trincomalee were particularly devastated, with homes, schools, and hospitals reduced to rubble. Sri Lanka's tourism industry, a significant contributor to the economy, suffered immensely as resorts and hotels along the coastline were obliterated. Thousands of tourists were stranded and many lost their lives. Infrastructure across the island was in ruins, roads and railways were destroyed, and communication networks were down, making rescue efforts even more challenging. Beyond the physical destruction, the tsunami left behind a deep emotional toll. Entire families were wiped out, and many survivors were left traumatized. In the aftermath, communities struggled to find their footing, as the loss of loved ones, homes, and livelihoods led to a prolonged period of grief and recovery. Psychological effects, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, were widespread. The global response to the disaster was swift, with international aid pouring in to support relief efforts. Countries, NGOs, and private organizations collaborated with Sri Lankan authorities to provide food, water, medical assistance, and temporary shelter to the displaced. Reconstruction efforts took years as the government and international agencies worked to rebuild homes, restore infrastructure, and revive the economy. The recovery of the train and the damaged rail line was a daunting task. After the disaster, much of the coastal line, including the section where the Matara Express was swept away, was destroyed or severely damaged. Rail services were halted for months, with hundreds of kilometers of track needing repair. The Sri Lanka Railways, with support from international aid, undertook a massive reconstruction project to restore the line. Train services between Colombo and Galle were gradually reinstated by mid-2005. The locomotive, number 591 Manitoba, was recovered from the swamp where it had come to rest. After an extensive restoration process, it was put back into service on the Colombo-Galle line. In a symbolic gesture of resilience, a wave motif was painted on the side of the train, commemorating the tragic event and honouring those who lost their lives. The restored train still runs today, a testament to the recovery efforts and a symbol of the country's ability to rebuild after disaster. The tsunami's long-lasting impact on Sri Lanka can still be felt today. While much of the infrastructure has been rebuilt and tourism has largely recovered, the memories of that tragic day remain vivid in the minds of survivors. Monuments and memorials now stand in several affected areas, honoring the lives lost and the resilience of those who survived. In the years following the disaster, Sri Lanka has taken significant steps to improve disaster preparedness and response, investing in coastal defences and community education on tsunami risks. The tragedy of Train 50, the Matara Express, stands as the deadliest train disaster in history, with over 1,700 lives lost in the devastating 2004 tsunami. Yet beyond the heartbreak, it has also become a symbol of the resilience of the Sri Lankan people. In the face of overwhelming destruction, they rebuilt their lives and communities, with the restoration of locomotive number 591 serving as a testament to their strength and perseverance. This powerful symbol of recovery shows that even in the darkest of times, Sri Lanka's spirit endures. If you like the video, please give us a like, comment what you think, and subscribe for more incredible stories.